They look so happy without me. I have to be strong.
What would you do if the people you loved most didn't see you as a daughter, a sister, or family at all, but as their personal bank account? That was the moment I realized something heartbreaking. Sometimes the people who say they love you the most are the very ones willing to take everything from you. This is the story of how I stopped buying my family's love, and finally chose myself. My name is Celeste Harmon, 34, a freelance graphic designer in Ashford who lives by punctuality, except on the night my parents marked 30 years of marriage. A violent squall turned the freeways into ribbons of red brake lights, and by the time I reached Cedar and Crown, breathless and clutching a silver gift bag with matching Samsung Galaxy watches inside, my family was already laughing over dessert without me. If you've ever felt like an outsider in your own family, you know the sting of arriving late to a scene that didn't wait. I forced a grin, smoothed my damp hair, and told myself tonight could still be good. From the sidewalk we look flawless. My father, Raymond, 58, a bank manager at Northgate Financial, wears suits that outprice my rent. My mother, Claudette, 56, is an accountant whose sense of order extends to people. My sister, Serena, 38, followed their blueprint. Elite law school, partnership by 35, marriage to Fletcher the surgeon, 2 photogenic children in private uniforms. I chose art school, then freelancing, feast and famine, building a portfolio and a modest life in a sunlit walk-up near Elmwood. Family praise always orbited Serena. Her grades, awards, scholarships. My wins, gallery hangs, design prizes, were cute hobbies. Art is wonderful, Mom would say, but you need something stable to fall back on. 3 years ago a whim changed everything. I bought a lottery ticket with my coffee and won $260,000. Enough to clear debt, build savings, and upgrade my studio, not enough to retire. I planned to keep quiet. Over dinner, when asked why I seemed lighter, I slipped. Overnight I became a resource. Started small. Dad's car died. Just a loan he'd repay after his bonus. $9,200 later, no repayment. We paid for your college, he said, hurt. Family helps family. Serena asked for Mia's gifted summer program. $5,800 they couldn't spare after booking a beach trip. Then came Mom's refresh, Fletcher's clinic investment, Owen's computer. Amounts swelled. The promise of payback evaporated. The money wasn't the worst part. Affection inflated with my balance and deflated with my boundaries. Suddenly I was added to group texts, invited to weekly dinners, included on vacations with invisible price tags. When I landed a contract with Prism Digital, the table toasted Owen's soccer ribbon instead. Still, I wanted connection. For their anniversary I bought those watches, had their wedding date engraved, preloaded fitness apps, wrote cards, and even rehearsed a toast. In my navy dress I planned to arrive early. Then a pileup on the Route 9 connector stopped us cold. I called, no answer, and texted, accident, running late. Delivered, unread. The maitre d' led me to the private room. 8 place settings, my chair empty, the bread basket stripped. Conversation bubbled. No one noticed me until Owen mumbled, "Oh, Aunt Celeste's here." Heads lifted. Mom's smile cooled. "Well, look who finally decided to join us. We thought you might skip altogether." "No," we worried. "Just judgment." "There was an accident," I said, still holding the gift. "I tried calling." Serena shrugged. "Phones away at family dinner. Dad's rule." A rule she broke whenever work pinged. Dad gestured toward the empty seat. "We'll see if the kitchen can rush something." They all knew I always ordered truffle pasta. No one had bothered. I set the box down. "Happy anniversary. 30 years is extraordinary." Mom murmured thanks and parked it. Aunt Dorothea intervened. "Open it." Mom unwrapped the watches. For a heartbeat they looked genuinely pleased. "Very nice," Dad said. "Newest models," I added. "Engraved." "Thoughtful," Mom replied, closing the box. Neither tried them on. "Wait till you see ours," Mia chirped while Serena passed an envelope. Inside were vouchers for a week in St. Lucia. First-class flights, a beachfront suite. You deserve pampering, Serena said. Mom teared up, hugging them. Dad clapped Fletcher's shoulder. For 15 minutes they mapped beaches and restaurants. My gift sat forgotten on a side table. That's the difference between real careers and freelancing, Fletcher murmured loudly enough. Real money means real gifts. No one contradicted him. Someone slid chocolate mousse toward me. Tasted like chalk. When the glee thinned, Mom drew a folded sheet from her purse. Before I forget, let's settle the check. She smoothed the paper. Dad beamed. I saw the bottom line. $1,340. Private room and the premium pairing, she said. Full tasting menu. Then she slid the bill to me. We thought you might take care of this since you missed most of dinner. A nice way to contribute. I waited for the punchline. None arrived. You want me to pay for a dinner I barely attended? We reserved your place, Dad said. They charge per person. And it's not like you have other expenses, Mom added. No children, no mortgage. Serena laughed. Come on, Sel. You've been our family ATM since you won. Why stop now? Fletcher lifted his glass. To Celeste's good fortune, may we all enjoy it. In their laughter, 3 years of special exceptions resolved into focus. Is that what I am to you? Yes. An ATM. Dad tried gentle. We're family. We support each other. When did any of you support me? Said. When I landed Prism Digital. When I had pneumonia. Silence. Fletcher cleared his throat. If you're having money problems, just say so. Something inside me aligned. I lifted the bill. Mom exhaled, assuming the old pattern. I tore it cleanly in half, then quarters, then smaller. Confetti drifting over linen. Have you lost your mind? Dad barked. Exhaled. The months after that dinner unspooled like a storm cloud slowly wringing itself out. I went silent. No calls, no texts, no quick rescues. The first 2 weeks were the worst, full of 2 a.m. doubts and muscle memory guilt. My mind replayed the scene at the table and supplied gentler edits. A softer voice, a smaller stance, a card slid across the linen instead of confetti. Then I'd remember the unread message, the unopened engraving, and the glasses tilted in a toast to my good fortune. And the edits evaporated. My phone lit up with messages that circled the point but never touched it. From Mom. We're thinking about updating the cabin appliances. You have such good taste. Maybe you'd like to contribute. From Serena. Mia's birthday is coming. She wants that tablet you mentioned. I told her you might get it. From Dad. Since you spoiled dinner, your mother thinks some spending money for St. Lucia would be appropriate. Not a syllable of accountability. Not a single I'm sorry. They mourned a faucet they could no longer turn. I poured my energy into work and repair I could control. I accepted projects that stretched me. Wayfinding for a small museum, a paperback rebrand for an indie press, a modular identity for a free clinic. At Harbor and Vine, I found artists who understood that time is a currency and attention is a gift. Most important, I began seeing Dr. Simone Okafor, a therapist who specializes in family systems and boundaries. What you're feeling is grief, she said. Grief for what was, and for what was never going to be. Boundaries are not a rejection. They're a recognition of reality. The calls kept coming. Mom swung between guilt and scold. Serena's were blunt in a way money makes people. None said the words I needed. Strangely, the silence between pings grew companionable. I cooked. I read. I learned to sit with a loneliness that didn't demand payment. On a bright Tuesday, as I nudged vector curves into place for a client logo, an unfamiliar number called. Is this Celeste Harmon? The voice asked, professional, kind. It is, I said. This is Daniel Reeves, Senior Credit Manager at Lakeview Trust. We need to discuss unusual activity associated with your information. Do you have a few minutes to speak privately? The room seemed to tilt. I do, I said, moving to the couch. Our system flagged an application to open a joint credit line using your social security number, date of birth, and other identifiers, he said. Certain discrepancies triggered our protocols. I swallowed. I haven't applied for any new credit. That aligns with our findings, he replied. The delicate part is this. The primary applicant is listed as Raymond Harmon, with you as co-authorized user. The signature purporting to be yours failed verification. My father's name in a fraud call made my stomach drop. I'm sorry, Daniel said gently, but it appears your father attempted to open a joint credit line with a $32,000 limit using your information without authorization. When we phoned to verify, he became agitated and insisted the application was legitimate. Closed my eyes. The documents include copies of your driver's license and social security card, he added. Would he have access? Months earlier, I'd brought a folder of paperwork to my parents' house for insurance forms. I'd left it in the study while helping Mom in the kitchen. Cold, plausible answer settled in. Understood, he said. We've denied the application and will flag your profile. However, you may want to place fraud alerts with the bureaus. Consider a credit freeze, change passwords, and file a police report to document the incident. I was quiet. Has this happened elsewhere? I can't speak to other institutions, Daniel said carefully, but our system shows several inquiries in your name over the last 3 months. Not a lapse. Pattern. After the call, I made tea and didn't drink it. I left a message for Dr. Okafor and then wrote a list. Fraud alerts, freezes, new passwords, 2-factor authentication on everything, transaction notifications, a private mailbox. I was less afraid than focused, a feeling like placing sandbags along a river that has always insisted it is a road. In session, I decided not to file a police report for now. I would document everything and protect myself completely, but I would not escalate criminally unless the pattern continued. Then I wrote an email to my parents, Serena and Aunt Dorothea. I have learned that Dad attempted to open credit in my name without consent, I wrote. This is a criminal act and a profound betrayal. I have chosen not to press charges at this time. I am implementing comprehensive protections. I will have no contact with anyone who minimizes, excuses, or enables this behavior. The replies arrived on schedule. Serena accused me of exaggeration and drama. My aunt expressed shock and urged harmony. My father said nothing. 3 days later my mother called. Her voice smaller than I remembered. Celeste, she said, will you meet me? Just us. Against Dr. Okafor's caution, I agreed to a coffee shop near my apartment. Public, 2 exits, my seat facing the door. Mom looked deflated. She folded and unfolded a napkin. Thank you for coming, she said. You have every reason not to. I stayed quiet. What your father did was wrong, she said. I didn't know. I would never have condoned it. But you condoned turning me into a bank, I said evenly. You laughed when they toasted my wallet. She flinched. Yes, she said softly. We all did. And I am sorry, Celeste. Truly. Then she told me the part one hadn't seen. Your father has a gambling problem, she said. For years. I pretended it wasn't catastrophic because keeping the image was easier than tearing it down. The remodels, the trips, the good life. All of it built on sand. We are in debt, she said. It worsened after you stopped helping. Helping, I repeated. Is that how you name extracting from your daughter? Tears spilled. We measured your worth by the wrong metrics, she said. You deserved better than what we gave you. We spoke for 2 hours, about comparisons that cut, the transactional tone of love, the way I learned to audition for approval with gifts. She listened more than she defended. Before we left, I gave the terms. I'm willing to have a relationship, but it must be different. I will not provide financial support, ever. That boundary is non-negotiable. I need time to see if anything you're saying becomes real. She nodded. I understand. And Dad? I cannot be in contact with him, I said. What he did wasn't just hurtful. It was criminal. If he finds help and makes amends, maybe someday. Not now. Outside, The air smelled like rain on hot pavement. I walked home, unlocked the door to my quiet apartment, and wrote the boundary again on a sticky note I placed inside my wallet. You are not the bank. Listen. Rebuilding does not look like a montage. It looks like mornings you get up anyway. I kept the freezes in place, locked down every account, and recorded dates, calls, and screenshots in a small black notebook. Each entry steadied my pulse. Boundaries, I learned, are not a feeling. They are a practice. My mother and I spoke once a week, 15 minutes by timer. We avoided money entirely. She told me she had joined a support group for families impacted by gambling and found a financial counselor who made the numbers real instead of theatrical. She admitted to a new habit. When she started to compare me to Serena, she wrote the comparison down and then asked herself what it was hiding. Often the answer was fear. Sometimes it was envy. Sometimes it was the old family illness. Image before intimacy. Work thickened into something sturdy. I raised my rates, pruned clients who treated creative like cheap, and built longer arcs. A packaging system for a sustainable tea company, motion graphics for a regional festival, a brand sprint for a community legal clinic that paid less but meant more. Harbor and Vine asked me to co-lead a mentorship circle. I told young designers the thing I needed when I was them. Price in your time, budget for delight, and don't invoice your self-worth. My world widened around people who showed up without a receipt. Jasmine and I collaborated on a small gallery show. Her portraits paired with my kinetic type projections. The opening felt like good weather inside. An elderly woman cried in front of a piece that stitched the word home into a loop. She said it made her think of leaving and of staying, and how both can be brave. I wrote that in my notebook too. Setbacks came. The old story has good stamina. A cousin said I'd let success go to my head. A family friend cornered me at a fundraiser and informed me that forgiveness, to count, must look like forgetting. I went home, sat on the rug, and cried for the younger me who learned to buy belonging. Then I cleaned my kitchen, sent Jasmine a dumb meme, and slept without asking anyone's permission. 5 months after the call from Lakeview Trust, my mother phoned and didn't sound like a held breath. Your father enrolled in a program, she said. Debtors Anonymous meetings, a counselor, some kind of accountability group. He hates it and he goes. I had 1,000 complicated feelings, which I labeled instead of drowning in. I'm glad he's getting help, I said. I'm still not ready to be in contact. I understand, she said, and miracle, she didn't argue. Around the same time, a letter arrived by mail with my mother's handwriting on the envelope and my father's on the inside. No demands, no bargains, just a ledger. Dates of meetings attended, debts listed without euphemism, a line that said, I will calculate what I took from you and if you ever allow it, I will begin to repay. He did not ask to see me. He wrote, I hope someday to be a man you would be safe to know again. I sat with the letter a long time. Cried. I put it in the black notebook. I didn't open the door. The seasons shifted. Elmwood Park greened, then went gold. I moved to a second-floor apartment with creaky floors and a pine outside the window that threw shadows like lace. I bought a second-hand bike with a bell that cheered me up. I started a series of letter forms built from field recordings, river syllables mapped into curves, wind turning into stems and bowls. I worked until the line hummed. Then I went for a walk. My mother bettered at apology. Instead of but, she tried and. Instead of defending, she paused. When she slipped, are you sure your rates aren't a tad high? I said her name and she laughed softly and said mine back, which was her way of backing up and trying again. Some days I missed the family I wished for so sharply it made me dizzy. Other days I felt like I had stepped into a clear lake and washed off a language that was never mine. Serena and I never returned to old choreography. She sent photos. Mia's painting of a heron, Owen's chess medal, and I replied with uncomplicated warmth. No offers, no hints that money was a door someone might knock on. It felt awkward until it didn't. I kept the door light and the lock working. A year after the dinner at Cedar and Crown, I booked a table for one at a different restaurant with a view of the river and a menu that reads like a poem. I ordered the thing I wanted because I wanted it. I raised a glass of champagne and toasted the version of me who tore the bill, and the one who walked out, and the one who sat in therapy and untied the knots. I toasted my mother's small brave sentences, my father's ledger without excuses, my sister's photographs that did not contain an invoice. I thought about the hardest lessons the year had pressed into me like type into soft paper. Money buys compliance and sparkle and short-term peace. It cannot buy love that looks you in the eye when you have nothing to offer but yourself. Kept that truth close. On my walk home, the air smelled like rain waking up the soil. I passed an apartment where someone was practicing piano, the same 4 bars over and over, and I loved them for refusing to quit it almost. I climbed my stairs, watered a plant that had drooped, and then decided to keep going and sat at my desk. In my notebook I wrote, "My value is inherent." Then, below it, "I will not buy my way to belonging again." Before bed I opened email and found a note from the community clinic whose brand we'd launched. A donor came in because she loved the new look, it read. She cried in the lobby. She said it felt like being welcomed before anybody spoke. I closed my laptop and stood still for a long time. There was the clean, bright feeling of building something true with what is in your hands, not with what somebody else takes from them. If you're reading this because your own people learned the wrong magic trick, turning your heart into a wallet, know this: you can put the trick back in the box. You can set down the roll. You can love them and also say no. You can love yourself enough to wait for a different kind of yes. When I finally switched off the light, the room looked honest. I was not rich, not retired, not anyone's emergency fund, not the family disappointment, not the family savior. I was simply a woman in a quiet apartment with work she believed in, friends who showed up, a mother learning new words, a father doing hard math, and a sister who had started sending pictures without price tags. It was enough. It was at last mine. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe. You are not alone, and you are worth so much more than what they took.